Hello everyone, I'm Alina. Today our group is going to present Roger Boisjoly Challenger case. So here is the overview of our presentation. First of all, I will introduce the case summary, including the main characters and relevant fact. Casey will introduce the main stakeholders in the case, and following that, Junjie will analyze the ethical dilemma, and Yuxin will use the theories and framework to analyze the case. And lastly, we will give our recommendations. So let's start with the case summary. As for the main characters, Roger Boisjoly, he is one of the leading experts at modern cycle. He is also one of the engineers who tried to stop the launch of Challengers. Larry Molisle, he is NASA rocket booster program manager who put the pressure on the senior Morton managers for the launch of the Challenger. And the senior Morton managers represented by Joe Kilminister, who votes to override the judgment of engineers and gave the permission for the launch of Challenger. And here are the relevant facts for the case. Morton Cycle is a company involved in the production of solid rocket propellants, and the company contracted with NASA to build the booster for the Space Booster program. The launch of the Challenger rocket booster was scheduled on January 28, 1986. However, Roger Boisjoly discovered the failure of the O-ring cells and concerned the fact of low temperature. He reported the fact to his boss and recommended postponing the launch. Larry put the pressure for the launch of the Challenger. And finally, the manager gave the permission to launch the Challenger. The decision caused the explosion of the Challenger, leading to the loss of the booster as well as the 7 astronauts' lives. As a result, Morton's cycle was investigated by the Roger Commission, and Boisjoly and other engineers tried to reveal the truth of the disaster as well as the fact that the managers are trying to cover up the truth. In the end, the company was criticized by the commission, but Roger was also crowded out by the company.
The term stakeholders refers to all the parties that were affected by or had an interest in the decisions and actions surrounding this event. These stakeholders include the first be NASA and Morton Cycle management. These were the primary decision makers regarding the Challenger launch. They faced the dilemma of balancing safety concerns with the immense pressure to proceed with the launch. Their decisions had direct consequences on the outcome of this event. The second will be Roger Boisjoly. As an engineer and motorcycle, Boisjoly was a key stakeholder. His professional and ethical judgments played a critical role in identifying the risks associated with the O-ring seals. His actions and the subsequent treatment he received also highlight issues of workplace ethics and the treatment of whistleblowers. The third would be Challenger shuttle crew. The astronauts aboard the Challenger were directly affected by the decision to launch. Their lives were at stake, making them perhaps the most critical stakeholders in this scenario. The fourth one would be the general public and school children. Given that the launch was a significant public event, especially with the inclusion of Krista McAuliffe as the first teacher in space, the general public and school children watching the launch live became stakeholders. The disaster had a profound impact on the public's perception of space exploration and NASA safety protocols. The fifth one would be U.S. government and the President Ronald Reagan. The fifth one would be the U.S. government and President Ronald Reagan. The government represented by President Reagan was a stakeholder as the space program was a national undertaking. The disaster had implications for national pride and the government's investment in space exploration. The sixth one will be the Rogers Commission. Formed to investigate the disaster, the Commission's role was to uncover the truth and provide recommendations to prevent future tragedies. Their findings would have significant impacts on policy and regulation in the space industry. In summary, each stakeholder group had different interests and levels of impact from the decision made and the disaster that unfolded.
Hello everyone, my name is Junyi Shen. My part is the ethical dilemma. The ethical dilemma of the case is whether Roger should insist on stating the facts or not. First of all, if he insists on stating the facts, the first positive impact is that it places a warning role to the own company, so the top can prioritize the safety of employees and actively make organization modification regarding transportation and integrity. The second impact is that it can let all the people know the truth, and the management team will focus on the action of all needs to uphold the company's reputation. In terms of the negative impact, firstly, the company will be criticized by the public. The board will take the responsibility and have more court to deal with the issue, like any law should fees or compensation to family of the deceased. And for Roger, he will be crowded out by the company and have a terrible working environment in the future. Okay, next. If Roger is linked to the truth, the top managers can escape from the major responsibility, and only the manager will be blamed. In the short term, the reputation of the board can be protected. The company will not be subjected to negative comments from the outside world, so the company will spend less time on dealing with the problem and will be back to normal operation quickly. On the other hand, the negative impact is that the company still has the risk of future disclosure if the commercial future investigates the problem. It also decreases the employees' morale as they know the company disregard their safety and try to escape the responsibility. Last but not least, the company is like to have repeating problem if the top manager don't attach importance to the problem, and it will be difficult for development. Okay, next part is Zheng Yuxin.
Hi, my name is Yu Xing. Next, I want to introduce you about the theoretical application in the case. First of all, I want to talk about John Stuart Mill's theory. He mentioned about the consequentialism and the utilitarianism. If Roger decides to be silent to the truth, this can result in the discouragement to the disclosure of the unethical acts, and this can also motivate the management team to continue blaming the innocent employees in the future. This can also decrease the organization's reputation within the engineer labor market. If Roger decides to disclose the truth, this can build up the transparency system within the organization, decrease the intellectual pain from the engineers team, and reduce the conflicts between the astronauts' family and the engineers' teams. So, in the long term, to disclose the truth can utilize the maximum happiness. In terms of Aristotle's theory, he mentioned about the virtues ethics. This includes the forthrightness, loyalty, and honor. Roger speaks up about the truth, which demonstrates his honesty and forthrightness, and he was always loyal to his job duties and responsibility. However, Morton Charcoal violates the loyalty to the society. Roger disclosed the truth in order to fight for his personal honor and his personal reputation. I also want to apply the 5-question approach in this case. If Roger decides to be silenced to the truth, from the organization's perspective, it is yes and no profitable. In the short term, the board of the organization can avoid losing their job and further investigation. However, in the long term, the organization's engineer team will be responsible to this incident, and the cooperation with the organization will decrease in regards to the rocket field. And it's not fair for Roger and others and engineers who took their job responsibility, and they should not be blamed from the wrong decision from the board. And also, it's not legal. Roger and others could be investigated due to the management team's mistake, and they might go to jail because of their mistake. And it's not right for them to undertake the consequences from others' wrong decision. Finally, I believe there's no further sustainable development. The discouragement of the Disclosure Act from the inner worker will continue to tolerate more mistakes in the future, and this is definitely a disadvantage for the organization. As a result, I believe that Roger owes to disclose the truth. And finally, I want to review the EDM platform the organization made in this case. First, they only focus on the short-term profits. Hiding the truth is not for the organization's benefit, but it's only for the management team's benefit. And it's not the responsibility for Roger to be loyal to the management team. And also, the management team failed to consider the virtues that are expected to be demonstrated by the public. The society expects the organization to perform more transparency and honesty to them.
There are various suggestions which might have helped prevent and improve the decision-making process for the Challenger disaster. Fostering an environment of open communication and transparency within Morton Cycle would have been essential to its survival. Employees should have been free to express their safety concerns without fear of reprisals, which would have allowed for earlier identification and resolution of potential problems, possibly preventing a catastrophe from taking place. Second, senior managers at Morton Cycle should have given greater weight to engineers' concerns regarding O-ring cells. Prioritizing safety over business interests would have shown their dedication to the well-being of crew and mission success. Supporting and protecting whistleblowers like Boisjoly is essential to their effectiveness. Rather than isolating and punishing him, Morton Cycle should have acknowledged and celebrated the important contributions his action brought forth to highlight critical safety concerns. Supporting and protecting whistleblowers like Boisjoly is essential to their effectiveness. Rather than isolating and punishing him, Morton Cycle should have acknowledged and celebrated the important contributions his actions brought forth to highlight critical safety concerns. Protection and support for whistleblowers would encourage others to come forward with crucial information, while strengthening collaboration and decision-making process between Morton Cycle and NASA. Better communication channels and collaboration would help ensure all safety concerns were thoroughly addressed. Implementing an independent oversight mechanism would also help mitigate potential conflicts of interest. Establishing an impartial body to assess the safety of the space shuttle program would add another layer of oversight and ensure decisions were made with an emphasis on safety. Implementation of these recommendations could also have enabled stakeholders to collaborate in prioritizing safety, preventing tragedies like Challenger disaster, and maintaining public trust in space shuttle program. Here we have 3 questions that we'll discuss in class.